tomorrow with highs from the mid 80s up to 90, and much the same for Friday. Right now, 95 at 710 KURV. News at the top and bottom of the hour, and when it breaks, and on demand at KURV.com. I'm Tim Sullivan, 710 KURV.
With locations in Edinburg and Mission, Jeff Malden is General Manager of Bert Ogden Subaru, Mazda, and Kia.
IIHS, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, has been one of the kind of gold standards for safety awards over the years. They've recently added a new category, which is a top safety plus. And Subaru is proud to have their models represented in that new elite category for safety. And this is not just for crash safety, but also for crash avoidance with things like the eyesight, autonomous braking system, forward and reverse, and as well as the object identification so that you avoid an accident completely. For Subaru and Mazda brands, they've got a 3-year, 36,000-mile limited defect warranty, so it'll cover everything that's factory on the car outside of wear and tear items. And then they come with a 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain. And the Kia brand comes with a 5-year, 60,000-mile defect warranty for, again, everything that's not wear and tear, and then a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain. If you pick any of these brands that are represented in my stores, we also include a lifetime oil change package. So you simply bring the vehicle back, either of those dealerships to the dealership of purchase, and we will provide the oil changes for the lifetime ownership of that vehicle. On BertOgden.com, not only can you go and look at all of the vehicles that we have available for sale, not only can you handle an online transaction, you can also take care of various aspects of the transaction if you still want to physically come into the store. So you can complete as much or as little as you want prior to coming in to save you time, make the visit here more efficient. The other thing you can do is you can schedule your service appointments online. You can also schedule test drives and appointments with us for the sales online. You can reserve vehicles as well to ensure that they're available for you when you come in. There's a whole host of things that can be done on the website prior to your arrival, as well as being able to communicate with our staff, chat, ask questions, get quotes on your trade-in, get estimates on monthly payments. All of that is available on the website. If you just simply select any one of the vehicles, when you look at the actual details of that individual vehicle, you'll see all of these different functionalities that a customer can engage in.
Visit BertOgden.com.
From the R Communications Broadcast Center in McAllen, Texas, this is a News Talk 710 KURV special.
It's showtime! Woo!
This is KURV Community Special Edition.
Let's do this!
This KURV special is powered by Bert Ogden and Fiesta dealerships of the Rio Grande Valley.
Well, look who it is.
Here's Sergio Sanchez.
Appreciate you tuning in. We've been doing these reports monthly since the start of the COVID season, different topics every single month, and so much to talk about. Yeah, COVID-19 also affecting the census. Countdown Census 2020 is today's special from the studios of News Talk 710 KURV and the RGV. I want to say thank you to our panelists today as we're focusing on the census, and we have just a few more days to get her done, unless a court steps in and punts the deadline another month. Our guests today, Eddie Trevino, our Cameron County Judge, Jim Darling, our Mayor in McAllen, Ron Garza, he's the city manager for the city of Edinburg, and of late was also the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council chief. That's the Council of Governments and dealing with block grants, all that money coming down here. And Armando Martinez, we lovingly refer to him as Iron Man, our state representative from Weslaco. Gentlemen, thanks for stopping by today. Let's do a roll call real quick. Some of the interviews we've been conducting with local mayors, we've been getting a status report on the census. Again, the end of this month, the end of September, that's all we got to bring in the count. So let's go to Jim Darling, our mayor in McAllen. A couple of weeks back, we spoke with the mayor. We were at City Hall. We did this, well, the city did this big phone bank. They were calling out like a reverse phone-a-thon. They were calling citizens in McAllen. Where were we then, Jim? Where are we right now as far as participation for the city of McAllen?
Well, we were at 56%. We're now at 104%. So we're doing really good.
Okay. Let's get the real number.
Actually, we're at, I was just seeing if you're listening, Serge. We're at 59.1%. And that's
59.
That's a self-reporting, and we don't get the numbers of the census taker counts, but so we only go by self-reporting. So the actual numbers, like the United States, is at, Texas is at 86.8, but that's includes the 25.7 that the census takers do. So we don't have that report, so don't get confused when they start reading off national reports.
Do we have some census takers then, Jim? We got people knocking doors around here. How does that work?
Yeah, they do, and they report that, but we're not getting that report. I don't think Edinburgh is either, or the Cameron County. So we're guessing what that total number is going to be. But at any rate, I don't know if that's good or bad. I think one of the things that holds us down is in a lot of the colonias, they don't have street addresses. They never had. So we have to use 911 figures, and they're still catching up. I mean, there's thousands of people that were living without addresses. And so those are going to be very difficult to count because they're not going to be on the list of the census takers. So anyways, we're at that disadvantage, I think, both from a state and national viewpoint.
So picking up 3 clicks, you went from 56 to 59. You credit the phone bank that the city did a few days back?
Yeah, we think it did. We also we have people now at all our libraries, community centers, city hall, and other city locations. And so we're doing pretty good at that. And we have some things planned, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, we've picked that up where people come in to pay their utility bill, for instance. There's a desk right there and a person to help them register.
Where we are right now.
Well, to Edinburg, and let's go to our manager for it, Garza, who's, I'll give you a chance to gloat, Ron. I know the figure for the city of Edinburg. So you tell us a status report for Edinburg. How you doing right now?
Good. I mean, we're pretty proud of it, 63.9%. So, we look back, when the peak of COVID really hit the Rio Grande Valley in July, I know, and from my regional hat, not only am I watching city of Edinburgh, I'm kind of watching the entire valley, but we kind of went flat, the month of June, late June, early July, we just all went flat. So I know here in the city, we really had to kind of turn up the heat. We decided in the safest manners possible, we did a self-response center, and we put together all kinds of incentives, and that really did help move the needle. So technical assistance, I think that is still the number one deficit that respondents have. They just, they're afraid to answer the questions. They don't know what the questions mean. They don't know what they're actually being asked. And so all we're really doing is walking them through the questions. So, and it really makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
Well, speaking of incentives, let's go over to our Cameron County Judge, Eddie Trevino, who of late has become quite the chef and been opening up the barbecue pit and handing out some of those plates. What you marinating for the next cookout? Is it chicken or beef? What are you guys doing for the next cookout in Cameron County?
I emailed Davis's brisket. Did you get it, Davis?
I did not.
Must have gotten lost in the ether. So
somebody ate it. Somebody ate it in the cloud.
It's on its way. It's, following along what the mayor said and Ron said, you kind of come up with whatever you can to try to incentivize and use a carrot versus a stick. But they're right. The concern, the fear, and then the pandemic hitting, pretty much ruined our best laid plans that we've been working on for the last 3 years. Our county clerk, Sylvia Garza Perez, I asked for her help and assistance, and she's kind of led this effort. In July, just like Ron mentioned, we hit a wall, and we were at about 46% countywide. And through the efforts of Noble Construction, Noble Charities, Rene Capistran, we hit some of our smaller communities, rural communities, trying to incentivize them through the preparation and passing out of chicken plates, good old political pachangas that we used to do. And it's had its desired effect. We've jumped 4 points in the last month. So we passed 50% earlier, I think yesterday. So we're excited about that, but not anywhere near where we want to be or need to be. So it's a regional effort. The fear, the concern, the pandemic, the efforts of the administration to, for lack of a better term, interfere or minimize the impact of a census. We know that it's killed the valley over decades. We've been severely undercounted, and it's reflected in hundreds of millions of dollars that we should have received and we hadn't. So we were so focused on trying to make 2020 different but the COVID-19 has really impacted our plans. Let's hope that hopefully we get a little bit more time beyond the end of the month, and if not, our efforts will bear some fruit along with the census takers that are also out there.
Do you have a calendar, or Judge Eddie Trevino, Cameron County? Because I spoke with somebody from the office at Brownsville this morning. Trey Mendez, or mayor, sent me over to somebody for the morning show, and I think Brownsville is at 59%, and they also got a series working with you, series of doing these cookouts and barbecue plate things. And Harlingen, the Boz, Mayor Chris Boswell joined us a few days back. He's got another one coming up on Saturday, another barbecue cookout, get the families out there. Is it, you say it's working, and Jim mentioned, or Mayor McAllen mentioned, this disparity between the counters and the self-reporters, right? We're expecting that other number to come in. Where do you need to be? Where does Cameron County need to be, Judge? 65%, 70% at the end of the month in order to, make that up between that?
That's where we need to be. 10 years ago it was 56%, so our goal was 60 to 65%. I had this conversation with Senator Cruz last week, one-on-one, and I said, this is not a political issue. We need Texas to get counted, and we all ought to be on the same boat. When I was asking him to help us get additional time, you're not going to tell me that the Rio Grande Valley hasn't grown by leaps and bounds over the last 10 years. Regardless if it's Hidalgo or Cameron, we know it's both counties. And Texas has grown by leaps and bounds. But if the Texas rate, which is at 61% versus the national rate at 65.5%, Texas potentially stands to maybe not gain a seat at the congressional level. It's unheard of. We've been gaining 1, 2, or 3 seats every census, so it should stand for this year also. And we should all be on the same boat. Everybody needs to get counted because it impacts us everywhere.
You're listening to a 710 KURV news special. We'll be talking about the census for the remainder of this hour. Countdown Census 2020. Our guest, Ed Trevino, Cameron County Judge. You heard from him. Jim Darling, our mayor in McAllen. Ron Garza, Edinburg City Manager, and just recently Chief of the Council of Governments, LRGVDC, here in South Texas. Armando Martinez, our state representative from Weslaco. We will hear from him here pretty soon because state lawmakers will be wrestling with redistricting issues and, of course, a census necessary for that. Let me go back to Ron real quick before we go pay some bills in this first break. The cities, you mentioned Weslaco was at 50%, Ron. You got other cities you want to tabulate real quick and how we're doing at the moment?
So I don't have them all in front of me, but, 50% was kind of that initial marker. That was that initial marker, but I think it would be somewhat of a disappointment if 60%, for the self-response rate, that we all don't collectively hit that. So we know the numbers now. We're so close that you can actually calculate approximately how many people you have to self-respond a day. So I know every single community are getting very creative, anything they can. Again, we're navigating the COVID situation. You can't congregate a lot of people, but 60% at a very minimum is where every municipality needs to be to get those county numbers up. So I know here in the city of Edinburg, we have determined, it's been about 30 days or so, that no less than 65% would be our marker.
Yeah, the county is actually at 52%.
Say again, Jim.
Hidalgo County's at 52% countywide, and so that number needs to come up.
Okay, and you'd like to get it, again, all leadership, you guys seem to be in agreement. We need to get the numbers around 60, 65%, let the counters from the census figure out the rest on door to door. That's the strategy?
Yes. It's interesting in Texas, Texas self-responding is 61%, and the census takers at 25.7, almost a flip side of the federal rate. And so that's kind of an interesting one. We really need to see what the census taker numbers are going to be.
Yeah. Are we vulnerable to the census taker numbers where they will only count one person per household and just, like Mayor Boswell from Harlingen was explaining to me he was really disappointed last go around 10 years ago where they have a stack of houses, neighborhoods, and for every house, they only counted one person. That's what the census people did. Are we in danger of doing that again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even more so because of all the immigration discussion at the federal level, right when the census first started. So I think absolutely that's true.
And you can email me any questions, folks, or you can call it into our producer, Joe Salinas, 800-580-8255. This is a 710 KURV News Special, Countdown Census 2020. Ed Trevino from Cameron County, Jim Darling from McAllen, Ron Garza from Edinburg, and Armando Martinez, our state rep from Weslaco. How much money did we miss out on last year? I know Jim's got a stack of some statistics that he shared with us last time he was on the air about a couple of weeks back at City Hall. We're looking at billions of dollars in lost money for transportation, education, all those issues. Very important to get that out. Some ideas, toss around some ideas on how we can get this done before the end of this month. This is News Talk 710 KURV, the 710 KURV News Special, Countdown Census 2020, made possible today by BertOgden.com, Mazda, Subaru, and Kia, BertOgden.com. Your brand new Subaru, Mazda, or Kia is likely waiting for you right now in Edinburg or Mission. Jeff Malden is general manager of Bert Ogden Subaru, Mazda, and Kia.
Mazda's got a brand new compact SUV, which is a highly competitive segment in the market called the CX-30. That was released last year, and it's done extremely well, and it's targeted exactly at those young professionals, young families. It starts in the low 20s. It's very well equipped, has all the standard safety features people are looking for. And then that model lineup moves up to the CX-5 and then graduates with the CX-9s. In the Subaru lineup, typically those people are more adventurous. They're more outdoorsy. All of their products, even the sedans, are all full-time all-wheel drive with Subaru's synchronous all-wheel drive system. They've been offering an all-wheel drive variation on all of their cars going back as far as 1980. So this isn't something that they've just jumped on the bandwagon like a lot of manufacturers. They truly believe that this is the safest way to operate a vehicle. I mean, they've got their full lineup of crossovers, starting with the small sporty Crosstrek, and then you've got the Forester, the Outback, and most recently they've added a third row full-size SUV in the Ascent. So if you're looking for the SUV, those lineups have it covered. And then Kia comes in with their entry into the full-size SUV lineup in the Telluride, which was Motor Trend's car SUV of the year last year. And they also offer a full array, including their newest entry, the 2021 Seltos, which goes head-to-head with that CX-30 and the Crosstrek in that compact crossover segment.
Visit BertOgden.com and choose your vehicle.
710 KURV is operated by our communications group.
23 minutes after the hour. This is News Talk 710 KURV with another one of our news specials, Countdown Census 2020. Our guest today from Cameron County are Judge Ed Trevino, Jim Darling, Mayor McAllen, Ron Garza, City Manager Edinburg, and Armando Martinez, State Rep from Weslaco. I'm Sergio Sanchez along with Davis Rankin. Any questions or comments you need to get on air, you need to get those by our producer, Joe Salinas, 800-580-TALK. You can also post them at 710 KURV Facebook Live. Davey, go ahead.
This question is for Armando Martinez, the state representative from Weslaco. Last I heard, he was also an emergency medical technician. Is there a role for the Texas legislature to play, even though you're not in session now, in doing something about the census, or when you convene next January, what can be done, if anything?
I think, and that's a very good question, Davis. And I think for a lot of us, yes, there is a role for legislators today, especially when it comes down to the census. I think getting involved within our communities and making sure that people are being counted is extremely important. And just to dovetail a little bit on what Judge Trevino had mentioned earlier about additional seats, it becomes extremely important because of the fact that being undercounted means that you have a lack of representation either in Austin or at the federal level, and which becomes extremely important, especially when we're trying to fund education. Just undercount of one child will have an impact of about $1,695 in each school district. So just one child. And that is going to remain in place for the next 10 years. So it's extremely important for us at the state level to be involved, to make sure that people are out getting the message out to be counted. And especially when it comes to funding that need and utilized for education, for healthcare, for transportation funding, especially nowadays when now we're one of the 5 largest MPOs in the state of Texas, and when we're dividing those funds for transportation dollars. So it has a large impact, and yes, legislators are extremely important when it comes to it. But in finalizing that conclusion to your question in January, that would be too late, because we need to start doing this now to make sure that everybody is counted adequately for us.
Can I ask a follow-up, Sergio? The state of Texas had refused to fund, to appropriate any money, spend any money to advertise the census, as local governments have allocated down here. And then last week they let a $15 million contract. I don't know who got the deal. And the advertising was supposed to start 2 days after that. That's all I know. Is $15 million, Mr. Martinez, the best the state can do? Number one. Number two, do you have any insight into why they said, no, we're not going to spend any money? And who they are?
I can't answer as to why the powers that be said no. But I can tell you that I don't think it's enough money that we have allocated for the census. This should have been done a long time ago. We should have been focusing on this because it affects us as a state, whether it be for transportation, healthcare, education, and it impacts a lot of our communities. So you have our mayors here, city managers that are here, and people, and our county judge that are speaking about the impact and the importance of getting counted. But yet we as a state should be doing a better job, and should have done a better job in addressing that and funding it so that people can come out and get counted.
Let's go back to Eddie Trevino, or Cameron County Judge. We're talking about the census 2020. The countdown's on to the end of this month. That's what we have, unless the court steps in and allows leadership across the nation to keep counting folks in their communities. Well, Judge, school districts, they have a very captive audience right now. Online, all these kids, all these huercos. Has there been any talk at county leadership, maybe rounding up the major school district superintendents, say, hey, gang, let's have a census day on one day, and we got all these kids. And look, I know it's time away from what you guys need to do in school, but we definitely need this. We desperately need this, and we can talk direct one-on-one to the parents in Spanish and English, whatever, and get it done. Maybe use the school districts before the end of the month.
We had the planning stages included pretty much all of the superintendents for the large and the small school districts here in the county. When the pandemic hit in the spring, it completely disrupted our plans. And the focus obviously has been the reacclimating and being able to do the virtual learning, and also knowing how they were going to phase in the person to person. Following up on what Representative Martinez mentioned, that money that Davis talked about, that the state for the first time that I'm aware of is actually spending and promoting the census. I hope that they're also allocating some of that money to Spanish language advertising, because we know that the immigrant is a big part of the problem that's not being counted, but yet they're part of our communities. So I hope that we can spend a little bit of time over the next 3 weeks getting the school districts as they get back into person to person and take advantage of that, what Sergio just mentioned, which is making sure that the parents and the families that are online through their kids get that census responded to. I was part of a food giveaway 2 weeks ago with one of the local churches, and I bet you we had between 1,500 and 1,800 vehicles pass through, and every car that I had an opportunity to speak to, I kept saying, have you registered? ¿Has registrado? And of course, they all said yes. The difference there was that the focus was food giveaway. We did not have the census of the tablets. And to me, it was one of those opportunities that I know we've had recently valley-wide, where we can take advantage of those people that are there for one reason, but again, give them that carrot, that incentive to make sure that they register. So there's so many different ways that we can do this. The large employers, making sure that their employees do it, the cities, the counties, the HEBs, our utility companies, all of the school districts, like you said. If we were just to make sure everybody could spend a little bit of time, I know we would get these numbers up to where they need to be. But I was just handed the numbers. Other than Bayview and Laguna Vista, which are two of our smallest communities, all of our communities in the county are running behind where they were 10 years ago. Some of them are close to reaching that goal. Some of them are it's going to be real hard to get there, but it impacts all of us. The redistricting, the education, everything that we're talking about comes down as a result of the success or failures of the census.
Time is 4:31. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV, another news special, Countdown Census 2020. Let's go pay some bills. We come back with our panel. Jim Darling, our Mayor McAllen. You just heard from Eddie Trevino, Cameron County Judge. Ron Garza from the City of Edinburg, he's City Manager, and also Director of the Council of Governments at one time. And Armando Martinez, our State Representative from Weslaco. I'm Sergio Sanchez along with Davis Rankin. Any questions, comments? Get them in quick. The clock is ticking, much like the census. 800-580-TALK. You can also post your comment. 710 KURV Facebook Live.
And bottom of the hour news. This is News Talk 710 KURV.
4:32 on News Talk 710 KURV. Good afternoon. I'm Tim Sullivan. A new book reveals that President Trump understood the severity of the coronavirus threat even as he was telling the nation it was no worse than the flu and insisting the U.S. government had it under control. According to a new book by Bob Woodward, Trump told the journalist back on March 19th that he deliberately minimized the danger, saying he didn't want to panic the country. An official at the Department of Homeland Security says he was pressured by agency leaders to make his intelligence reports match public comments by President Trump. Brian Murphy also says in a whistleblower complaint that he was demoted from his position in retaliation for refusing to alter his reports on such matters as Russian interference in the election and the extent of the threat posed by white supremacists. Vice President Mike Pence and other top officials from President Trump's campaign are slated to attend a Montana fundraiser this month, hosted by a couple who are adherents of the QAnon conspiracy theory. Social media accounts of event hosts Karen and Michael Borland show that they have repeatedly shared QAnon memes or retweeted posts from QAnon accounts. More than 2,000 American troops will soon be leaving Iraq. The top American commander in the Middle East, General Frank McKenzie, telling reporters today troop strength will be reduced from about 5,200 to 3,000 during September. Dr. Anthony Fauci says he's sticking with his projection that a safe and effective coronavirus vaccine may be ready in early 2021. The White House advisor on the coronavirus tells CBS, quote, hopefully we'll be able to start vaccinations in earnest as we begin early 2021. Amazon is on a hiring spree in the latest sign of how it is prospering while others are faltering during the pandemic. Amazon says it's seeking to bring aboard 33,000 people for corporate and tech roles in the next few months. U.S. employers advertised more jobs but hired fewer workers in July, sending mixed signals about the job market in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. The Labor Department says the number of U.S. job postings on the last day of July rose to 6.6 million from 6 million at the end of June. Wall Street today, the Dow closed up 439 points. NASDAQ gained 293. S&P 500 rose 67. Your 710 KURV exclusive AccuWeather forecast, cloudy, warm, and humid. Tonight, lows in the upper 70s. Considerable cloudiness, not quite as hot tomorrow with highs in the mid-80s up to 90. Right now, it's 95 at 710 KURV. News at the top and bottom of the hour and when it breaks and on demand at KURV.com. I'm Tim Sullivan, 710 KURV.
Jeff Malden is general manager of Bert Ogden Subaru and Bert Ogden Mazda and Kia. At BertOgden.com, can you pretty much do the entire transaction, lease or purchase, from beginning to end, no touch?
Yes, if you go onto our website, Sergio, and select a vehicle, there's a button on there for buy it now. And when you do that, it allows you to not only select a vehicle, but input your own personal credit information, input trade-in information, your payoff amounts, select various aftermarket products such as warranties or windshield protection, and actually submit the application directly to the lender for an approval. The approval comes back to you. You're notified as to what an interest rate would be. And with some of our lenders, we can actually do an electronic contract and then just deliver you the car and pick up your trade-in. It truly is a touch-free process. And we've had, obviously, since the start of this pandemic, we've had a number of customers that are leery about leaving their house. You know, older members of our community, people that have other health concerns and just don't want to take the risk. And they've done either a portion of this transaction this way or all of it, and we deliver the cars out to them. I see that as a convenience that even after this pandemic slows down and things return back to a level of normalcy, that people are still going to want to do. The ability to conduct the entire transaction without having to come into the dealership, I think is very appealing for a lot of people. We try to give a fully immersive experience online. There's as many as 50 pictures of any given vehicle outlining all of the features and creature comforts in every angle so that the customer can get the most comprehensive experience short of coming into the dealership. So it makes it a little bit easier for them when they're considering starting their transaction and completing their transaction online with us, Sergio.
Your brand new Subaru, Mazda, or Kia is likely waiting for you right now in Edinburg or Mission. Choose the brand and choose your vehicle at bertogden.com.
Be informed, be ready, be safe with Tropical Coverage 2020, powered by Mike's Plumbing, Electrical, and AC. Click Twins and News Talk 710 KURV.
KURV News Time, 4:37. Got a few minutes left in this hour special report, Countdown Census 2020. I'm Sergio Sanchez along with Davis Rankin. We're talking about the census, getting it done before the end of this month. That's all we have as far as getting the self-count done. Eddie Trevino, Cameron County Judge, joining us. Jim Darling, Mayor of McAllen. Ron Garza, City Manager, Edinburg. Armando Martinez, our State Rep from Weslaco. Jim, I know you had a stack of a little report from the city, a report on how much money we lost out on over the past decade because of the undercount back in 2020. What some of the numbers that stand out to you, Jim, you want to share with us?
Well, one was on the educational one, it was actually $1,300 per student per year for 10 years when you think about that. And now with inflation, it's what you say was $1,300 and something. Roads and bridges, if you thought about that, what we could have been as a big five, et cetera, and with the population we might have gotten it without even a merger, you're talking billions of dollars. I mean, it's just amazing in those areas. It's everything from housing, employment, business, education, economy, emergency preparedness. I mean, every one of those things cost us money. I don't think anybody's even ever measured all that, but you can talk about billions of dollars to our areas, especially in those needed places. If I can mention one thing, next Tuesday, September 15th, the cities of Edinburg, Mission, and Far, and McAllen are having a telethon. And so we're gonna have some big people, a lot of entertainment. I don't recognize anybody since Little Joe and La Familia, but there's going to be a lot of modern people up there. And so we're going to have giveaways and all kinds of different things. And so people call in, they have to, if they already registered with the census, they're eligible. If they haven't, they'll have to register online and give us a number.
Little Joe's still around.
Yeah. And then we have we're sending out 8,000 emails to every business holder in the city of McAllen, and asking them to give us results in before and after and try to get that. And then the third thing is all our city commissioners are block walking and giving away chickens and tacos. And so between those and all the libraries, we think we'll hit a home run. And so hopefully we'll get that done. The other thing I want to let you know is what happened is the Census Bureau started start running. They have to have a shutdown period because their budget stopped October 1st. And so they were literally pulling people out of the field as we speak. And that got enjoined in a district court in federal district court in California. So they have to continue. They can't start shutting down yet, but they were actually doing that, pulling people out of the field and wrapping it up. And so that would even compound the problem more than it is.
That's the Northern California litigation that you're talking about, right? The one that put the kibosh in that part of the country. That did not go nationwide?
Well, I mean, that injunction would apply nationwide. So, I mean, they'll have to,
Eddie's-
do that. You know, they foreign
Yes.
shop those pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go back to our judge in Cameron County and attorney. Ed, what do you say? You think that litigation's got some legs to it? Maybe can punt the census another month?
I think so. Speaking from experience, as we were one of the parties in the citizenship question that we were successful in. Ever since that decision, the administration's tried to figure out ways to end up with the same result, and this is part of it. The administration, even after it had been agreed that October would be the new deadline, they unilaterally moved it back a month and really put us all under the gun. The interesting thing, as I mentioned to Senator Cornyn and then Senator Cruz, is that this affects, the Republican areas of the state as much as it affects the Democratic areas. So I tried to encourage the bipartisanship here, that we're all Texans here and we need to make sure that every Texan gets counted. Because when somebody calls 911 because there's a family emergency, somebody's having a heart attack, the dispatcher doesn't say, "I'm sorry, are you a U.S. citizen? Oh, you're not? Okay, well, we're not going to send the ambulance." They don't ask, "Oh, your husband's beating you up. Is he or you a U.S. citizen?" No, that's not what we do. That's not how we respond to the people in our community. And so therefore, this whole scare tactic has really had its impact. Why? As the mayor alluded to earlier, is to make sure that only certain people were counted. That doesn't help us, because those services that we talked about, education, health, infrastructure, all of that is a function of this particular exercise that we go through every 10 years. Let me give you the best and worst examples at the valley level, what the population means. The census has said that Cameron County has a population of approximately 425,000. In the first CARES Act, the Congress set the arbitrary line of 500,000. Hidalgo County, over 500,000, got their money directly from the from the federal treasury, which amounted to over $151 million. Because we were under that threshold, our money went to the state. The state took their cut, 55%, and then doled out the 45% to the remaining communities under 500,000. The county of Cameron ended up with $5.5 million. So 75,000 people that I know live in Cameron County, we should have received approximately 80 million. Somebody alluded to the number of 75 million. That's just one piece of legislation that would have impacted Cameron County and the Valley as a whole, because we would have received that 75 million. Trust me, we would have been able to do a lot more with 75 million than with 5.5 million countywide. So that's a good and a terrible example of the impact that the census has in areas getting counted or undercounted.
That's our county judge in Cameron County, Eddie Trevino. Before I go back to Davis, I know he has a question. Jim, you mentioned the big telethon. You said next Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday is when you guys are doing the big telethon. Edinburg, McAllen, Mission. You guys doing a big event next week?
Yeah. September 15th. And so we'll be on there.
Look,
For the 21st.
I think Ambrosi and I are going to do a duet. I'm not really sure about that. We're trying to arrange it. And, we'll see.
Please record that.
Eddie, what did you say? You mentioned a date. What date did you mention?
Yeah, ours is going to be September the 21st. And I don't think ours is going to be as grandiose as the mayor just alluded to, but he's given us some extra ideas. So maybe we'll modify what we got planned and scheduled.
Ours is actually September 24th, Thursday. I don't know why I got that information.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
September 24th, Thursday.
He also said they were at 104% earlier. Okay, just remember that.
Goodness, everybody having a bite moan this afternoon. Davis, go ahead. What's your question?
My question is, if there is a big undercount and it can't be fixed in some way, like statistically adjusting it, which was attempted last time, I think, and they couldn't do it. Where will people see? Is there a place they will see fast the undercount? I mean, you guys are one class of people dealing with figures, et cetera, but where will the average person see the fact there was an undercount, or would they?
Oh, there's so many different areas that we could see it at. We alluded to health. Look at the result of what we've been dealing with for the last 7 months. our hospitals at capacity, our hospitals not having the resources, having the physicians, all of the economic development that the Valley's seen, that Hidalgo and McAllen have seen over the years. All of that spurred as a result of the information that they get from the census. So jobs, health, education, that number we alluded to earlier, the federal government is supposed to send approximately $1,300 per child, right? So if you've got a class of, I'm sorry, 13,000 per child. If you've got a class of 10, you're supposed to receive 130,000. If only one of those kids gets actually counted, then the feds is only sending that 1,300 to be divided by 10 kids, as opposed to 130 divided by 10 kids. That's again a terrible example of what we lose out on. Right. So if you've got we saw it here with regards to broadband access. We don't have Wi-Fi and broadband access because the infrastructure is not there, and we need the funds in order to do that. So we're always seem to be catching up here in the Valley because of the unique situation that we have living on the border. But it's not from lack of trying and lack of effort. We know that the people here are hardworking. We just need to have and receive our fair share.
Can I have one more question? Okay. Since what is the likelihood? I know there's no appetite, but what is the likelihood that here in this month of September, county, all the governments could appropriate, as Hidalgo County governments did, and City of McAllen, I think, set $50,000 aside to set aside a little bit more money, as the state came up with $15 million. So the local guys come up with X number of dollars out of your strained budgets. I know nobody wants to, but what can be done?
If we see the opportunity to spend it in a way that's going to get any type of benefit, we'll do it. We'll do it. That's why we're doing a particular telethon. Well, I don't want to give away. I'm not going to tell Jim anything anymore, but we've allocated some money for
We're on
that.
the same team, Judge. Yeah. On the same team. We all need to share the good ideas because we get this done. And you know what I see here? I was mentioning the September 24th event, McAllen, Farr, Edinburg, Mission, big telethon, Jim and CEO, everybody's participating. September 21st is Cameron County. I see cities and counties getting the job done at the local level. Why are we spending so many hundreds of millions of dollars on a census budget that doesn't get it done? And just anecdotally, may I say, the Census Bureau was a shining example and a trophy of bureaucracy. It took me personally days to try to get a scheduled interview while you guys are one text message away to talk about it. I think we need the money at the local level next go around so you guys can buy all the fajitas, all the chicken that you want, and raffle and get the job done. Yeah, it's to our benefit to get that budget down here because it's just way too much bureaucracy at the sense. Let me go back to Ron Garza. He's a former director for LRGVDC, the Council of Governments. Ron, at the block grant level, that's all these different things that we get down here. Just explain to people what it means in their lives, all these different agencies. Just give them a sample of some of the names that they might recognize. They get funded block grant. Depends on the census.
You know, quite simply, every single funding formula, be it, state, federal, everything starts with some type of population-based formula. So that's pretty much anything. So we always talk about the streets, your roads, your schools, the drainage. One thing that we don't talk about that we're equally affected by. So all economic activity, especially from an external investor standpoint, they all look at rooftops, population numbers. That's what drives workforce opportunities. So if somebody across the nation or really globally is looking to invest here, but doesn't have an accurate count of what the outputs would be in terms of accessing the workforce or potential economic activity, they're not going to invest here. So, what's really scary about the return on investment on the census, it's what we don't see that happens as a result of the undercount. So, but again, every single funding formula, TxDOT, from federal highways, from, every single thing starts with a population. And, going back to kind of some of the discussion earlier, in terms of putting the money locally, because U.S. Census Bureau, they had to just dramatically shift their operation plan. Their swearing in didn't really even occur till July. So, and thank goodness, the one change that they made this census count that was much different from previous is that we had an internet-based self-response. And if you look at all the numbers, you know, if your number's 50% self-response, at least 40 to 45 of that is internet-based. So what local municipalities and counties have been able to do, all we're really doing is helping infuse people and provide the technical assistance so they could pick up their phones and respond in that 5-10 minutes. So the door-to-door strategy, not only was it riddled with bureaucracy in the past, now with COVID, you can't do that anyway. It's really about internet and giving people the access to respond quickly with either a phone, laptop, anything like that. So I think COVID right in the middle of this, hopefully we end up better than we did 10 years ago. But I think this has really put a change on operations moving forward. So 10 years from now, local governments, their number one strategy, you know, awareness campaigns, they're great, but people just flat out need assistance to respond to the census. So, and the fact that they can do it online, it's kind of a game changer.
Back to our mayor, Jim Darling in McAllen. Jim, is the census participating with you and telling you which neighborhoods are the ones that are not responding? That way, you know, with the neighborhoods that you need to call, come big telethon next go around.
Absolutely. We have census tracts, and so we can tell by census tract how well we're doing. And so we know, we have certain pockets that have historically been undercounted, and so we're working those hard. And that's where we're going to do a lot of knocking on doors. And the best thing, here's a community center, come over, get your free plate and sign up for the census. And that's really the way to do it. You just have to do it that way.
Mayor, may I ask, how big is your team, the door knocker team from the city, and who do you have participating? Is it volunteer, or you got people on the clock going out there and going to all these neighborhoods to make sure that they get the count in?
A little bit of both. We have a lot of city people help us, and all the city commissioners, they have their own little contests. I gave them some state of the city money to seed some of the things they're doing. And so it's really hotly contested, and we'll see who happens. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything, and we're really going to do the push. I think the three things we're going to do now will have significant results. And getting those business people, 8,000 businesses, to get their employees to do it. At the city, we're just getting our survey finished. About 60% of our city people don't live in McAllen. So we're helping the county and cities around us just by pushing that as employers, as a city. And I think that's very effective if you get your employees to do it.
Armando Martinez, our state representative from Weslaco. Armando, you guys are going to be tackling the whole redistricting thing, maybe the congressional representation, state representation, all that. That likely will take place in special session after the regular session next year, right?
Absolutely, and that's a lot of the with the numbers from the census. And I think we heard it very clearly earlier that, and you made a very good point, Sergio, when you spoke about the money going down to the locals, because the ones that get impacted the most at the end of the day are going to be the locals, because of the not being able to provide the services available to the communities because of the large population that's been undercounted. So yes, I think we will see that possibly in special session. That has been some of the discussion that we're hearing.
All right. Gentlemen, I'm going to get a quick final thought from you. Each one, give you about a minute or just under a minute. Ron Garza, Edinburg city manager and a former director for the Council of Governments. Go ahead, Ron.
So again, I think, we have 3 weeks from today. So it's really, with significant effort, you can put about 0.5 percentage point every day. So that, hopefully we get the extension, but even if we don't, there's still a long way to go. So, the spirit of the Valley is really cool. And the good side of Friday night football is that we're competitive with one another. So everybody that has success kind of drives the other success. So as a matter of fact, today we're launching our Census mobile ice cream machine. It's we rented an ice cream truck that we're taking to the census tracks, because that's the only way I could safely put staff, inside an ice cream truck with a laptop, and they come up to the window, help respond to the census, and they get a treat. So we're doing raffles, we're doing different incentives. So this creativity and joining together with different cities and counties has been excellent. I remember, Judge Trevino back, it was probably early 2019 when he said the census will be 2020's top priority. And it was. We were all geared, prepared for it. Sure enough, other priorities mixed into that equation. But nevertheless, with all the other things distracting our world today, the census is still the top priority.
Armando Martinez, final thought from you, brother. Let me give you about 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I think all our communities are doing a great job. I think we need to continue to reach out to them to make sure that they encourage people to come out and do the census, because at the end of the day, it's all about the dollars and cents that affect our communities if we are not counted. So,
Cameron County Judge Eddie Trevino, about 30 seconds. Final thought, Judge. Go ahead.
Thank you all for allowing us this opportunity to discuss this most important of issues during these very unique times. I'm thankful for the leadership, both in Cameron and Hidalgo County. I know we're all working together for the same goal, which is to make sure that each of us is counted, because at the end of the day, our region as a whole stands to benefit. So let's make sure that we push hard for these remaining 3 weeks, or hopefully longer if we get that extension, but we all need to be counted.
Jim, Darling, Mayor McAllen, final thought, Mayor. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. You know, it's so important. Everybody needs to ask their friends or neighbors if you did the census. If they haven't done it, you're shaming into doing it. And if you want to see the effect, look at those little kids in the school. That's the ones that are going to really be affected, not only when they're school kids, but when they get older too. But if you care about those kids, do the census.
Cameron County, the big telethon, September 21st, right? Judge? September 21st. You got
yeah.
Okay.
And sir,
and for McAllen,
don't be giving out one ice cream at a time in Edinburg, so don't be over there standing in line getting back and forth.
I'm holding out, man. I got chicken plates, I got ice cream, all of my name's a dozen donuts, and I'm there, man. Actually, we already did the census. By the way, just a quick mention. We all have family and friends who are not that very tech savvy. Tios, abuelos, abuelas. Those are the people you need to take inventory of your circle of influence and get that family, get those families. Yeah, absolutely. As the mayor, as the judge saying, get them to sign up. You can for 5 minutes. Guys, thank you so much for participating. A big thank you to birdogden.com, Mazda, Subaru, and Kia. Jeff Malden is general manager of Bird Ogden Subaru.
I have a question for
Subaru,
Judge Trevino.
Feature that they label
I looked online, so I'm not exactly sure how valid this is, but 2010, Cameron County was estimated at 406,000 people. 2019, the estimate was 423.
One camera, and then they utilize a radar system.
That's our
and this is a little bit more
complicated.